Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes in our journey of life, we find ourselves in situations that drain our energy, challenge our peace, and hinder our growth. We try our best to fix what's broken, to heal what's hurt, and to make sense of what's confusing. But sometimes, the best way to handle a situation, a relationship, or even a mindset is with distance. You see, distance isn't a sign of weakness or avoidance. Distance is often the best way to gain clarity, perspective, and wisdom. It allows you to step back and view things from a different angle. When you're too close, it's easy to get lost in the details, tangled in emotions, and clouded by personal investment. But with a bit of space, you start to see things as they are not as you wish them to be. When we create distance, we allow ourselves time to heal and reflect. We've all been hurt or disappointed by someone we trusted, or by an experience that left us questioning our worth. When we step away, we're not abandoning our values or giving up. We're making space for our heart and mind to realign, to recharge, to rediscover our strength. Because sometimes in the silence, in that distance, you start to hear your own voice again. Distance is also about respect for yourself and for the other person or situation. You may have had all the love, all the good intentions in the world, but no amount of love can force someone to change if they're not ready. And no amount of understanding can make a toxic environment healthy. By creating distance, you're saying, I honor what was, but I also honor what I need right now. Let's talk about purpose. Sometimes distance is the best way to refocus on your purpose. When we're caught up in the wrong relationships, in the wrong jobs, in situations that don't feed our spirit, we lose touch with what we were put here to do. But when we step away, we start to see clearly. We start to remember why we're here. Distance helps us realign with our purpose, with the reason we wake up each day ready to face the world. So don't be afraid to create that space. Distance isn't the end, it's a new beginning. It's a way of saying, I'm choosing to live a life that aligns with my values, my peace, and my purpose. Sometimes that means letting go, stepping back, and watching the view from a higher vantage point. May we all have the courage to create the distance we need. Because sometimes the best way to handle what's in front of us is to step back and trust that, with time, everything will come into focus. Like clarity and perspective are two of the most powerful tools we can have as we navigate the complexities of life. Too often, though, our daily interactions, relationships, and challenges become muddy by our emotions and biases, making it hard to see things for what they truly are. This is where distance comes in. When we take a step back, whether physically, emotionally, or even mentally, we give ourselves the opportunity to breathe, to recalibrate, and to view our circumstances from a new angle. Distance doesn't solve our problems, but it allows us to look at them with fresh eyes, opening the door to understanding and growth. Imagine a painter working on a canvas. Up close, he might get caught up in tiny details, the individual brushstrokes, the slight imperfections in color blending, the minute inconsistencies that nobody else would ever notice. However, when he steps back from the canvas, he can appreciate the full picture and see how each detail contributes to the overall masterpiece. Life works the same way. When we're immersed in a problem, it's easy to get lost in the details, the small mistakes, the temporary setbacks, the misunderstandings. But stepping back, creating distance allows us to see the bigger picture, helping us understand how each experience fits into the journey of our lives. In relationships, clarity through distance becomes even more essential. Relationships are complex and often emotionally charged, making it easy to misinterpret intentions, project insecurities, and sometimes lose sight of reality. When we're too close, we become entangled in our own desires, expectations, and judgments about others. We may begin to see only what we want to see, rather than what's actually there. By creating a little distance, we give ourselves the space to detach from these emotional biases. Distance helps us understand not only our own role, but also allows us to better perceive the other person's needs, limitations, and intentions. Or consider, for example, a friendship or a partnership where arguments and misunderstandings seem to arise frequently. When we're deeply invested in a relationship, we may feel a strong urge to resolve every disagreement right away or prove our point at any cost. But in the heat of the moment, the emotions run high and clarity often slips through our fingers. Taking a step back, giving yourself time and distance can make all the difference. This pause enables both parties to cool down, gather their thoughts, and approach the situation with a clearer mind and open heart. Distance allows us to reflect on whether the relationship is serving us, whether our needs are being met, and whether our actions are aligned with our values. Through this perspective, we are better equipped to make decisions that contribute to the health of our relationships rather than reacting impulsively. Distance also brings clarity by challenging us to see situations and people from multiple angles. When we're too close, it's easy to adopt a fixed perspective, often centered around our own experiences and beliefs. Distance disrupts this tendency, prompting us to question our assumptions and to view things from alternative points of view. A little space allows us to see not only how we feel, but also to consider the thoughts and emotions of others involved. By doing so, we deepen our empathy and understanding, recognizing that there may be factors at play we hadn't considered before. Additionally, creating distance fosters a sense of objectivity, which can be difficult to achieve when we're emotionally entangled in a situation. Emotions are powerful forces, and while they provide valuable insights, they can also distort our perception. For example, if we're angry or hurt, we may interpret someone's actions as deliberately harmful or insensitive, even if that wasn't their intention. By stepping away, we remove ourselves from the immediate impact of our emotions, allowing us to examine the situation more rationally. This isn't to say that our feelings don't matter, they do, and they're an important part of our experience. However, distance helps us ensure that our feelings don't cloud our judgment. We can acknowledge our emotions without letting them control our response. Sometimes, taking a step back also allows us to realize that certain issues or conflicts may not be as significant as they initially seemed. In the moment when we're directly involved, even small problems can feel overwhelming. But with a little distance, we often find that many issues lose their intensity. We're able to distinguish between what truly matters and what doesn't. By gaining this clarity, we can focus our energy on addressing the important issues rather than becoming consumed by minor grievances or misunderstandings. In the broader scope of life, distance can help us gain clarity about our own path, dreams, and goals. When we're too close to the routines, habits, and expectations that shape our daily lives, we can lose sight of our larger aspirations. Stepping back allows us to evaluate whether we're heading in the right direction, if we're prioritizing what truly matters, or if we need to make adjustments. Often, it's in these moments of distance that we come face to face with our own truth, the dreams we've put on hold, the passions we've neglected, the values we've compromised. By observing our life from a distance, we're better able to make choices that are aligned with our true self, rather than being swayed by momentary desires or societal pressures. Distance also enables us to recognize patterns both in our lives and in our relationships that we might otherwise overlook. Patterns of behavior, recurring challenges, or repetitive mistakes become much clearer when we step back and look at the bigger picture. With clarity, we can identify areas where we need to grow, habits we need to change, or relationships we need to reconsider. Without distance, these patterns can easily go unnoticed, leaving us trapped in cycles that hinder our progress. Ultimately, clarity through distance doesn't just change our view of a single situation, it transforms the way we approach life. It empowers us to be intentional with our actions, to respond rather than react, and to make choices that contribute to our long-term well-being and happiness. Taking a step back isn't always easy, especially when we're deeply invested in a person, goal, or outcome. But it is through this act of intentional distance that we gain the perspective needed to handle our challenges wisely and grow into the best version of ourselves. Healing and reflection are essential processes for anyone looking to grow and move forward in life. When we experience hurt, loss, or setbacks, the pain we feel often demands time and space to be fully understood and released. Trying to push through without allowing ourselves time to heal can lead to carrying unresolved pain, which over time can accumulate into stress, resentment, or even physical symptoms. Our reflection during times of distance provides an opportunity to understand what we went through, what we learned, and how we can move forward in a way that's healthy and sustainable. Imagine an athlete who sustains an injury. No matter how much they may want to get back on the field or court, they know that without proper healing, any attempt to return prematurely may worsen their condition. In much the same way, life's emotional and mental injuries need time and space to mend. Without healing, the emotional bruises we sustain can deepen and affect us in subtle, often unnoticed ways. When we give ourselves the gift of distance, we allow these wounds the necessary time to heal, enabling us to eventually re-engage with life from a place of renewed strength and clarity. Creating distance gives us the space to better understand our emotions and to address the pain that often lies beneath the surface. When we're close to a situation, especially one that involves conflict, disappointment, or loss, our minds can become clouded by immediate emotions. In the heat of the moment, anger, sadness, or frustration can obscure our ability to think clearly. It's only by stepping back that we can begin to sort through these emotions, acknowledging each one and giving it the attention it needs. Distance allows us to process our feelings at our own pace, without the pressure of others' opinions or expectations. By taking time to reflect on our emotions, we can also start to see what triggers certain feelings and recognize patterns in how we respond to situations. This understanding becomes a powerful tool for personal growth, helping us handle similar situations with greater resilience and maturity in the future. Reflection is more than just revisiting our experiences, it's an intentional act of looking inward to gain insight about ourselves. When we step away from a situation, we have the chance to analyze our own behaviors, responses, and motivations without the pressure of reacting in real time. In the midst of an emotional experience, it can be difficult to see our own role in the situation clearly. With time and distance, however, we can gain the perspective needed to honestly assess how our actions contributed to the outcome. This is not about blaming ourselves, but about understanding ourselves better, recognizing our strengths, and acknowledging areas where we might need to grow. By doing so, we develop greater self-awareness, which allows us to approach future challenges with a more thoughtful and compassionate mindset. In relationships, distance can be a powerful tool for both healing and growth. Whether it's a friendship, romantic relationship, or family connection, there are times when stepping back allows us to see the relationship more objectively. It provides an opportunity to ask important questions. Is this relationship adding value to my life? Am I compromising too much of myself to make it work? Distance lets us see both the positive and negative aspects of our connections, helping us make decisions that are aligned with our well-being. This space can also be essential for setting boundaries, defining what we are willing to accept and what is not healthy for us. Often when we're too close to someone, we can lose sight of these boundaries, allowing unhealthy dynamics to develop. By creating a little distance, we can reevaluate our boundaries and ensure that our relationships remain mutually respectful and supportive. Beyond relationships, distance and reflection allow us to reassess our own lives and the goals we set for ourselves. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to become so focused on the next task, the next goal, or the next achievement that we lose touch with our inner selves. Taking a step back offers the chance to ask questions about our own happiness and fulfillment. Are we pursuing goals that truly matter to us? Or are we following paths that others have set for us? Are we aligning our actions with our values? And when we distance ourselves from our routines, we create the space to evaluate whether our lives are moving in a direction that feels authentic. This period of reflection often reveals deeper insights about what we genuinely want and what changes we may need to make to live more in harmony with our true selves. Distance also gives us the mental space to forgive not only others but also ourselves. When we are hurt, it can be easy to hold onto that pain and the anger that comes with it. However, holding on to resentment can weigh us down, making it difficult to move forward. Stepping back allows us to process the hurt without the immediate influence of the person or situation that caused it. In this space, we can work through our feelings and begin to let go. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened, but it does mean freeing ourselves from the grip of past pain. Through reflection, we may find it easier to release negative emotions, making space for new, positive experiences to come into our lives. Healing and reflection during periods of distance also foster resilience. Life's challenges, whether they're personal struggles, relationship difficulties, or career setbacks, can be incredibly taxing. By taking time to step back and reflect, we build a stronger foundation within ourselves. We learn that we are capable of facing hardships and emerging from them with new insights and inner strength. Reflection helps us see our experiences not as mere obstacles, but as valuable lessons that contribute to our growth. This mindset shift can transform how we approach future challenges, making us more adaptable and less fearful of adversity. Ultimately, the healing that occurs during times of distance is deeply transformative. It prepares us to face the future with greater wisdom and compassion, both for ourselves and others. Reflection allows us to carry forward the lessons we've learned, making each experience, no matter how difficult, a stepping stone toward becoming the person we aspire to be. By embracing distance, healing, and reflection, we lay the groundwork for a life that is not only resilient but also filled with deeper meaning and greater joy. Self-respect and boundaries are fundamental aspects of personal well-being that allow us to navigate relationships and situations with dignity and self-assurance. When we talk about creating distance, we're not talking about an escape, but rather about setting healthy boundaries that honor our value, needs, and inner peace. Too often, we find ourselves compromising these essential aspects of self-respect in an effort to please others, avoid conflict, or conform to expectations. But without boundaries, we risk losing ourselves, becoming overextended, and feeling undervalued or taken advantage of.
Distance can be a tool that reinforces self-respect by giving us the space we need to protect our inner lives, assess our boundaries, and ensure that we are nurturing our true selves.
Self-respect starts with knowing our worth and recognizing that we deserve to be treated with respect. It's about understanding that our feelings, opinions, and well-being matter just as much as anyone else's. However, maintaining this self-respect requires conscious effort, especially when we are in situations or relationships that push our limits or challenge our values. Distance, in this case, allows us to see more clearly where we may be compromising our self-worth or ignoring our needs. By stepping back, we gain the perspective to ask ourselves whether we are being treated in a way that aligns with our values and whether we are honoring ourselves in return. When we create distance, we give ourselves the chance to reassess what we are willing to accept and what no longer serves our growth or peace of mind. Boundaries, which are closely linked to self-respect, act as a protective measure, defining what is acceptable and unacceptable in our lives. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut others out, but rather guiding lines that help us maintain our integrity and protect our emotional and mental well-being. When boundaries are respected, they create an environment of trust and mutual understanding. However, when we feel that our boundaries are being violated or ignored, it can lead to resentment, frustration, and even emotional exhaustion. Taking a step back, creating distance gives us the mental clarity needed to reassess these boundaries. Are we being clear about our expectations? Are we allowing others to overstep because we are hesitant to say no? Distance lets us evaluate these questions without the pressure of being in the moment and helps us establish healthier, more balanced boundaries that serve both us and others. In relationships, creating distance can serve as an act of self-care, allowing us to protect ourselves from draining or toxic dynamics. For instance, if we're in a relationship where we feel undervalued, manipulated, or emotionally exhausted, it's crucial to recognize that maintaining such a connection without boundaries can be detrimental to our self-esteem and overall well-being. Distance allows us to examine whether the relationship is genuinely supportive or if it's harming our sense of self-worth. This pause can help us identify if we are giving too much, receiving too little, or simply not being treated with the respect we deserve. By stepping back, we empower ourselves to make decisions that reflect our value and to seek relationships that honor our boundaries and our worth. Creating boundaries is not always easy. It requires assertiveness, courage, and sometimes difficult conversations. Many of us struggle with setting boundaries out of fear of disappointing others or appearing selfish. We may worry that saying no will lead to rejection or conflict, so we continue to say yes, often at our own expense. However, by embracing distance, we can start to see that boundaries are not only healthy, but also necessary for sustainable relationships. When we take a step back, we allow ourselves to recognize that saying no is not an act of rejection, but rather an affirmation of our own needs. This realization makes it easier to set limits, knowing that by respecting our own boundaries, we are ultimately creating space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Respecting our own boundaries sends a powerful message to others about how we expect to be treated. People are often influenced by the boundaries we set for ourselves. If we consistently respect our own time, energy, and emotions, others are more likely to do the same. Conversely, when we allow our boundaries to be crossed repeatedly, we inadvertently teach others that it is acceptable to treat us in ways that may not align with our values or well-being. By establishing and honoring our boundaries, we cultivate an environment in which respect is a mutual expectation. Distance aids us in reinforcing this message, giving us the space to reflect on where we may be allowing too much leeway and encouraging us to stand firm in our principles. Distance also helps us separate ourselves from external validation, which is essential to maintaining self-respect. Often, we look to others for validation, wanting to be liked, accepted, or appreciated. However, relying on others for validation can make us vulnerable to manipulation and disrespect. By creating distance, we detach from the need for constant approval and begin to find affirmation within ourselves. We realize that our worth does not depend on others' opinions or acceptance, but rather on our own sense of integrity and authenticity. This internal validation is a cornerstone of self-respect, as it allows us to make decisions based on what is right for us, rather than what might please or impress others. In work or professional settings, boundaries are equally important. Many people find themselves overworked, overstressed, or overwhelmed because they struggle to say no to additional responsibilities. The pressure to succeed, meet expectations, and please superiors can often lead us to take on more than we can reasonably handle. By creating distance, we give ourselves the opportunity to evaluate our workload and determine whether it is sustainable. This step back can reveal where we may be compromising our own health and well-being for the sake of external approval or fear of disappointing others. When we respect our own boundaries in the workplace, we not only protect our own well-being but also set a positive example for others, demonstrating that it is possible to be both productive and balanced. Finally, distance allows us to reclaim our personal space, both physically and emotionally. In a world that constantly demands our attention and energy, it can be difficult to prioritize time for ourselves. However, by creating distance, we establish a boundary that reminds us to take care of our own needs. This personal space is crucial for introspection, relaxation, and self-discovery. When we prioritize time for ourselves, we affirm our self-worth and reinforce our boundaries, recognizing that we have the right to rest, recharge, and nurture our inner lives. This act of self-respect becomes a foundation for all other aspects of our lives, enabling us to engage with the world from a place of wholeness and strength. By embracing distance as a means to establish self-respect and boundaries, we empower ourselves to live authentically and maintain relationships that honor our true selves. Through this space, we can ensure that our actions, connections, and commitments align with our values and contribute to our overall well-being. Respecting others is a fundamental component of healthy, balanced relationships and interactions. It's easy to assume that respect is simply about being kind or agreeable, but respect often requires a deeper, more intentional act, creating distance. By stepping back, we acknowledge the differences, needs, and boundaries of others, allowing us to see them with empathy and understanding. Distance, in this sense, becomes a gesture of respect, enabling both parties to breathe, grow, and operate freely without intrusion or undue pressure. This respectful distance is especially important in moments of conflict, change, or when personal growth and transformation are at play. When we create distance in relationships, we give others the space to be themselves, independent of our expectations or desires. Often we bring our own hopes, ideals, and visions to our relationships, consciously or unconsciously wanting others to meet these standards. But imposing our expectations on others can create strain, leading to misunderstandings and even resentment. By stepping back, we practice respect by acknowledging that others have their own paths, perspectives, and timing for growth. This distance allows us to appreciate them as they are, not as we wish them to be. It's a way of saying, I see you, I accept you, and I trust your journey, even if it differs from mine. Creating respectful distance is particularly powerful in times of conflict. When emotions run high, it can be tempting to push for immediate resolution or to try and prove a point. However, in heated moments, clarity and understanding often become obscured, making effective communication difficult. By stepping back, we respect the other person's need for time and space to process their own emotions and thoughts. This break allows both parties to calm down, gain perspective, and approach the situation with a clearer, more rational mindset. Distance prevents us from saying or doing things in the heat of the moment that we might later regret. It's a way of honoring the other person's experience and allowing room for reconciliation when both parties are truly ready. When someone is going through a period of growth or self-discovery, creating distance can be one of the most respectful things we can do. Growth often requires a certain level of solitude, introspection, and time spent away from familiar influences. Or during these periods, people may feel the need to withdraw or focus on their own inner journey. By respecting their need for space, we show that we honor their growth process, recognizing that they may need time away from us to develop in ways that align with their personal goals. This space allows them to explore who they are without feeling bound by the roles or expectations that others may place upon them. Respectful distance lets them know that they have our support, not our control or pressure. Distance is also a form of respect when it comes to differing opinions or values. In close relationships, it's natural to encounter differences in beliefs, priorities, or life choices. It's easy to fall into the habit of trying to convince others to see things our way, but doing so can undermine the respect we hold for their autonomy. Creating distance in these moments allows us to avoid unnecessary arguments or attempts at persuasion. By stepping back, we show that we respect their right to hold their own views, even if we disagree. This respect fosters a healthier dynamic where both individuals feel valued and understood, rather than judged or pressured. Distance, therefore, supports a relationship built on mutual respect rather than conformity. In family relationships, respecting others through distance can be particularly meaningful. Families often come with deeply ingrained expectations and roles that can feel confining or challenging to break away from. Parents, for instance, might have specific hopes for their children, while siblings or extended family members might expect certain behaviors or levels of involvement. When we step back, we acknowledge that our family members are individuals with their own needs and desires. If a family member needs space, perhaps to make independent choices or to establish their own identity, respecting this need through distance can strengthen familial bonds. It sends the message that family love is supportive rather than restrictive, grounded in acceptance rather than expectation. Respectful distance is also valuable in professional settings, where boundaries between colleagues are essential to maintain a harmonious and effective work environment. In workplaces, people come together with different working styles, personalities, and levels of experience. It can be tempting to micromanage or overstep boundaries in the name of productivity or teamwork. However, by giving colleagues the space to work in their own way, we demonstrate respect for their skills, creativity, and independence. Distance in this context might mean refraining from unsolicited advice, allowing others to take ownership of their projects, or avoiding excessive follow-ups. Respecting their professional autonomy not only fosters a more positive work culture, but also encourages trust and collaboration. When we step back, we empower others to work confidently, knowing that their contributions are valued. At a societal level, respecting others through distance becomes a way to honor cultural differences, personal choices, and diverse perspectives. In a world where people come from varied backgrounds, lifestyles, and belief systems, it's essential to respect these differences rather than trying to impose our own views.
Distance here means acknowledging that we may not fully understand someone else's experience or choices, but we respect their right to live as they see fit. This mindset fosters inclusivity and compassion, making it easier for us to coexist peacefully and appreciate the richness of diversity.
By respecting boundaries in this way, we create a more accepting society, one where each person is allowed to be authentic without fear of judgment or interference. Distance also demonstrates respect for others' emotional states, especially in times of grief, disappointment, or personal struggle. During difficult times, people often need space to process their emotions privately without the added pressure of external input. By allowing them this distance, we show that we respect their need for solitude and that we trust them to handle their emotions in their own way. Rather than rushing in with advice or attempting to fix the situation, we honor their process. This respectful distance is a form of compassion, showing them that we are present and supportive, but willing to give them the room they need to heal. Finally, creating distance is a way of respecting others' time and energy. In any relationship, we must be mindful not to demand more of someone than they are willing or able to give. Constantly seeking someone's attention, help, or approval can create a one-sided dynamic that feels draining and overwhelming. By creating respectful distance, we acknowledge that others have their own lives, responsibilities, and limits. It shows that we value their time and are considerate of their boundaries. This respect is reciprocated, creating a balanced relationship where both parties feel appreciated rather than burdened. In all these ways, distance serves as a profound expression of respect, allowing others to grow, heal, and live according to their own needs and values. When we create this space, we foster an environment of understanding and empathy, ultimately strengthening our connections with others by respecting the unique journeys they're on. Clarity and perspective are crucial elements for navigating life with purpose and intention. When we're too close to a situation, emotions, biases, or attachments can cloud our vision, preventing us from seeing things as they are. Creating distance, both physically and mentally, allows us to gain the clarity necessary to make thoughtful decisions, understand situations fully, and approach our lives with a broader, more balanced perspective. Distance provides the vantage point from which we can objectively assess what's working, what's not, and what adjustments we need to make to align with our goals and values. Distance also helps us detach from the expectations and pressures of others, enabling us to focus more on what we truly want. In a society that constantly projects standards of success, beauty, or happiness, it can be easy to lose touch with our own values and desires. We may find ourselves pursuing goals or adopting beliefs that don't genuinely resonate with us simply because they align with what others expect. By stepping back from these influences, we allow ourselves the mental space to reflect on our own priorities and reconnect with our authentic self. This distance is essential for determining what truly matters to us, free from the weight of external validation or conformity. It's a way of saying, I value my own perspective enough to tune out the noise around me and find my own path. By creating distance from routine can also reveal insights into our daily lives that we might overlook when we're on autopilot. When we go through the same routines day in and day out, our habits can become so ingrained that we stop questioning their value or effectiveness. This can apply to anything from our work habits to our relationships and even our self-care practices. By taking a step back, we can examine these routines with fresh eyes, asking ourselves whether they are truly serving us or if we're simply going through the motions. This pause can lead to constructive changes that enhance our lives, allowing us to break out of unproductive cycles and replace them with practices that align more closely with our evolving needs and aspirations. Perspective is also essential for understanding others' actions and viewpoints, especially in relationships. When we are deeply involved, we may interpret others' words and actions in ways that reflect our own insecurities, assumptions, or fears. By stepping back, we can detach from these biases and consider the other person's perspective more objectively. This shift in viewpoint can bring clarity to misunderstandings, helping us to see the intentions behind actions rather than just the surface-level impact. Through this expanded understanding, we're more likely to approach situations with empathy and patience, recognizing that people may be dealing with complexities we're not fully aware of. This clarity strengthens our relationships, fostering a deeper sense of connection and trust.
In decision-making, distance is a powerful tool for assessing options without feeling rushed or pressured. Life often presents us with choices that demand careful thought, but the immediacy of the decision can create stress that clouds our judgment.
By taking a step back, we allow ourselves the time to evaluate each option thoughtfully, considering both the short-term and long-term consequences. Distance provides the mental clarity needed to weigh pros and cons without feeling overwhelmed, helping us arrive at decisions that align with our goals and values. This careful consideration not only leads to more satisfying choices, but also builds confidence in our decision-making abilities. In creative work, perspective gained through distance can be transformative. Whether it's writing, art, problem-solving, or any other form of creative expression, stepping back from the work allows us to see it from a new angle. This fresh view can reveal details, errors, or inconsistencies that we may have missed while immersed in the process. By creating distance, we cultivate the objectivity needed to refine our work, making it more impactful and polished.
This technique is widely used by artists and writers who take breaks from their projects specifically to return with fresh eyes. Distance and creativity serves as a reset, opening the door to new insights and inspiration that deepen and enrich the final outcome. Distance also offers us the chance to revisit our goals and aspirations with a refreshed outlook. Life is dynamic, and as we grow, our priorities and dreams often evolve. When we are constantly caught up in the daily grind, it's easy to lose sight of these shifts, leading us to pursue outdated goals that no longer resonate. By stepping back, we allow ourselves to evaluate whether our current path is still aligned with our true aspirations. This time of reflection can lead to valuable adjustments, helping us recalibrate our efforts and focus on goals that genuinely inspire and motivate us. In addition to personal clarity, distance fosters a broader worldview, helping us see beyond our immediate circumstances. When we're closely involved in our own lives, it's easy to become narrowly focused, seeing only our own struggles and ambitions. By creating distance, we open ourselves to a wider perspective, recognizing the interconnectedness of people, communities, and global issues. This broader view nurtures empathy, compassion, and a sense of shared humanity. We begin to see our challenges within the context of the larger world, gaining perspective that can make our own problems feel more manageable and our goals more meaningful. Ultimately, clarity and perspective are tools that empower us to navigate life with greater wisdom, understanding, and intention. When we take the time to create distance, we gain insights that are often hidden from us in the midst of our routines, emotions, and daily responsibilities.
This newfound clarity allows us to make decisions, connect with others, and pursue our goals in ways that are aligned with our true selves. It's a process that fosters growth, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for both the journey and the broader tapestry of life. Protecting mental health is essential for overall well-being, and creating distance can be one of the most powerful strategies for doing so. When life becomes overwhelming, filled with responsibilities, obligations, and an influx of information, mental health can easily take a hit. Emotional overload, stress, and burnout are all too common when we don't establish boundaries that allow us to pause and recharge. Distance provides the mental and emotional space needed to decompress, regain clarity, and manage stress in a healthy way. By stepping back from certain environments, situations, or relationships that are emotionally taxing, we take intentional steps to safeguard our mental health, making us more resilient and better equipped to face challenges in the future. One key way that distance helps protect mental health is by reducing exposure to stressors that may be beyond our control. In both personal and professional spheres, certain circumstances or interactions can generate significant stress and anxiety. But this might include dealing with a demanding work environment, maintaining relationships that require constant emotional energy, or managing family obligations that leave little room for personal relaxation. Without boundaries, these responsibilities can accumulate, creating a cycle of stress that affects both our mental and physical health. By choosing to take a step back, we allow ourselves to limit exposure to these stressors, giving our minds the necessary room to process, rejuvenate, and return to a balanced state. The importance of solitude for mental health cannot be overstated. Many people underestimate the value of spending time alone, yet solitude offers a powerful opportunity to reconnect with oneself, free from outside demands or distractions. Solitude allows us to sit with our thoughts, assess our emotions, and tap into a sense of inner peace. This quiet time is essential for anyone dealing with anxiety or stress, as it provides a sanctuary for reflection and self-understanding. By intentionally creating distance from the noise of daily life, we can listen to our inner voice, understand our feelings, and ultimately develop greater self-awareness. This self-awareness is foundational to mental health because it allows us to identify what truly makes us feel balanced and fulfilled. Distance is also beneficial for setting boundaries around toxic relationships or environments. While maintaining close connections with others is valuable, not all relationships are beneficial to our mental health. Certain interactions can leave us feeling drained, insecure, or unworthy. Whether it's a friendship, family relationship, or work-related connection, interactions with people who constantly criticize, manipulate, or belittle can take a serious toll on our mental well-being. Establishing distance in such cases allows us to protect ourselves from the harmful effects of toxic interactions. This doesn't mean cutting ties with everyone who challenges us, but rather recognizing when a relationship becomes one-sided, unsupportive, or detrimental. Distance helps us regain control over our emotional boundaries, reinforcing that we have the right to prioritize our mental health over maintaining harmful connections. Social media and technology are additional areas where creating distance can protect mental health. In today's digital age, constant connectivity can lead to information overload, comparison, and even feelings of inadequacy. The never-ending scroll of social media often exposes us to curated versions of others' lives, which can lead to distorted self-perception and increased anxiety. Additionally, notifications, messages, and emails can make us feel pressured to be available and responsive at all times, leaving little room for genuine relaxation. By taking regular breaks from digital platforms, we create distance from this virtual world, giving ourselves the space to reconnect with real life and avoid the negative mental health impacts associated with screen time. These breaks remind us that it's okay to unplug and that we don't have to be constantly on to be successful or valued. Distance also plays a crucial role in managing work-related stress and avoiding burnout. The modern work culture often glorifies long hours, constant availability, and high levels of productivity. However, without proper boundaries, this mindset can quickly lead to burnout, a state of mental and emotional exhaustion that can have long-lasting effects on mental health. By creating distance from work, whether it's by setting strict work hours, turning off notifications after a certain time, or scheduling regular breaks, we allow ourselves the chance to unwind and replenish our energy. This separation is essential for sustaining productivity and preventing burnout, as it provides a clear distinction between professional and personal life. Prioritizing rest and recovery in this way enables us to return to work with a refreshed mindset, ultimately benefiting both our mental health and job performance. In relationships, creating emotional distance can be a healthy strategy for managing conflict and protecting one's mental health. When emotions are high, arguments and disagreements can escalate quickly, leading to stress and tension. Taking a step back in these moments allows us to avoid reacting impulsively, which often only intensifies the conflict. Distance helps us process our feelings more rationally, and it provides the time necessary to cool down and reflect on the situation. This emotional space often leads to more constructive communication, as both parties have had the opportunity to understand their feelings and perspectives. Emotional distance in this context is not about avoiding issues, but rather about creating the mental clarity needed to address them in a way that respects both our boundaries and our mental health. Mental health is also supported by distance in the form of mindfulness and self-care practices. By carving out time for activities that bring joy, relaxation, and peace, we create a mental buffer that protects us from stress and anxiety. Mindfulness practices like meditation, yoga, or even journaling help us distance ourselves from daily worries and focus on the present moment. These practices encourage a sense of inner calm and emotional resilience, making it easier to handle challenges and disruptions. Distance, in this sense, is an act of self-compassion and acknowledgement that we deserve time to nurture our mental health and to engage in activities that foster a sense of well-being. Additionally, physical distance, such as spending time in nature, can have a profound effect on mental health. Numerous studies have shown that being in natural settings helps reduce stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. Nature provides a peaceful escape from the demands of urban life, allowing us to relax, breathe, and reset. Taking a break from busy environments to connect with nature helps improve mood, boosts energy levels, and promotes a sense of tranquility. By physically distancing ourselves from the hustle and bustle, we engage in a form of therapy that supports both mental and physical well-being. Finally, distance allows us to gain perspective on our mental health journey. When we're in the midst of stress, anxiety, or difficult emotions, it can be hard to see beyond the immediate feelings. However, stepping back and reflecting on our progress over time can help us appreciate our resilience and growth. This distance gives us the opportunity to recognize patterns, identify triggers, and develop strategies that work best for us. It allows us to approach our mental health proactively, celebrating the small victories and acknowledging areas for improvement. Through these various forms of distance, whether emotional, digital, physical, or professional, we protect our mental health, granting ourselves the time and space to decompress, reflect, and nurture inner peace. This intentional distancing empowers us to engage with life from a place of balance and strength, fostering a resilient mindset that supports long-term well-being. Thank you.